I have the particular honor of introducing our keynote speaker today, Ms. Talia Leman. And let me also welcome Talia's mom, Dana, sitting over there. We know that nothing can happen without moms. I'd like to do something a little different today. I am going to thank Talia before she even says one word. And I'll tell you why I'm going to do that. I'm a native of New Orleans, Louisiana. In August of 2005, Hurricane Katrina swept through the Gulf Coast and ravaged New Orleans. My parents barely survived. My sister was missing for a week. My brother-in-law lost his livelihood. My nieces and nephews lost their schools. We lost our church, as so many people in that city did. But we were truly, truly blessed. And we were blessed because we had help, not only from family and friends, but we had help from people we had never even met, people who we never would meet. And that brings me to Talia Leman. In August of 2005, Talia Leman was 10 years old. She was a fifth grader in Waukee, Illinois. She enjoyed swimming, gymnastics, soccer, although I have inside information that said she spent a lot of time on the bench that year. And she was a Girl Scout. And that is where her journey began, and I will let her tell you about that journey in just a minute. But through her actions, she has impacted many, many lives and continues to make a difference around the world. She embodies what we're trying to achieve in Girl Scouts. She learned who she was as a person. She connected with others, not only her friends and her family, but her community and to people in a world much larger than her community. And most importantly of all, she took action and had a tremendous impact through that action and has truly made the world a better place. She exemplifies the leaders we're trying to develop through Scouting. So from the bottom of my heart, Talia, thank you, ladies and gentlemen, Ms. Talia Leman.
Thank you. So thank you, Millie. That was a fabulous introduction, and it's wonderful to be able to know you, to have the opportunity to meet you, and to have such a wonderful connection. I also want to thank Sharon Seagraves, Colleen Walker, AT&T, Margot and Ross Perot for really making this event possible. So thank you very much. Girl Scouts are both worth our time and our investment. And they make girls courageous and they make girls strong so that they can be and so that they can become someone and become really decision makers for the world, leaders and problem solvers in a world that truly needs them. And so, as Millie mentioned, I was a Girl Scout, and I joined the Girl Scouts when I was about 12 years old. My grandparents, however, are convinced that I've been a Girl Scout since I was about 4 years old. That's when I first demonstrated my leadership skills by opening a shoe store inside of their home. So I took all 37 pairs of my grandmother's shoes, and I placed one of each pair on the coffee table, and then I hid the other pair where nobody could find it. So if my grandmother wanted to leave the house for any reason, a sale was imminent. It wasn't long before I began to have ideas about how to expand this business, and so that's when I started also selling my grandparents back their own groceries. But being 4 didn't deem me cute enough to prevent what happened next. They shut me down. but not before I discovered my inner business child. And so 6 years later, when Hurricane Katrina hit the Gulf Coast, I had a plan. I made the decision that with Halloween just around the corner, I was going to take advantage of that captive audience and trick-or-treat for coins instead of candy, and then give that money that I raised to hurricane relief. I called my business TLC. That was an acronym for Trick or Treat for the Levee Catastrophe. Except sometimes it didn't stand for that. Sometimes it stood for Trick or Treat for loads of cash, or Trick or Treat for large currency, or Trick or Treat for lots of change. However optimistic I was feeling at the time, and I took a really flexible approach to my branding. I also determined, since I was determining a lot of things, that I was going to be the CEO of this effort. I took this title to mean the Chief Executive Optimist. Dutiful to my title, I set an early goal of raising $1 million. By all accounts, things were coming along. I had a nice big trick-or-treat bag that I decorated, and then I chose a neighborhood where the houses were really close together. Then, my 6-year-old brother got wind of what I was up to, and he came up to me, clearly very upset, and he said, "I'm opposed to what you're doing. I'd rather trick-or-treat for pirate relief." Those are his exact words. It was very unexpected. I didn't know what to do about that, but I decided to make room for him and to offer him a title too, only natural. So he became our official CON. That was an acronym for the Chief Operating Nemesis. We put him on our makeshift website in his favorite Darth Vader costume. He was thrilled. And then something happened that really turned my life around forever. The Today Show happened to be visiting our little makeshift website and saw his photo and invited us onto their program, CEO versus CON. So one day later, I was fielding reports from kids all across the USA, tracking their donations on a map with pushpins. A week later, a local grocery chain offered to print 8.5 million trick-or-treat bags to be given out with my message on them, and there are 226 stores and in 13 states. Our governor held a press conference, and UNICEF invited me to do spots on CNN and NPR. And when it came time to draw our efforts to a close, I knew we'd raised a lot of money, but it wasn't $1 million. It wasn't $500,000. It was $10 million. Kids across the USA ranked in their giving power with the top 5 corporate donors to Katrina. That's right up there with Walmart, Exxon, and AT&T. And while I didn't know that we could raise that much money, I did know that someone had to harness that youth power for the other disasters that the world faces, and so that's why I started the nonprofit that I have now, called RandomKid, a nonprofit that leverages the power of youth, the power of any random kid worldwide to solve real problems in the world. I figured that if we could raise $10 million for hurricane relief, that we could do anything. And so today, 8 years later, RandomKid has now unified the efforts of 12 million kids on 20 countries, and it's been designated a champion of intercultural innovation by the United Nations Alliance of Civilizations. And through all of this, I really became a witness to this greatness in others that I never could have foreseen. It just happened, which is a very scary realization. Because if greatness happens by accident, if it happens by surprise, if greatness is not a carefully orchestrated sequence of events, then how are we supposed to just happen upon it? And so that's what I want to talk to you about today, is how can we do something greater than we know how to do and become something greater than we know how to be? One way that this happens is when we put ourselves out there so that luck can strike. What people don't realize is that luck doesn't share the same odds as getting hit by lightning or winning the lottery, but rather luck is everywhere all the time. It's waiting for you to trip over it or to stand beneath it or to bump into it, and when you put yourself out there, luck can capture you. So I'm going to tell you about a friend of mine and how luck captured her. Her name is Katie Stagliano. And when Katie was 9 years old, she decided to do what a lot of third graders do. She brought home a seedling. Now, by chance, her seedling happened to be a cabbage seed, and she gave this cabbage seed a home in her backyard. Some kids forgot to water theirs. Some overwatered theirs, and one kid explained that his dog sat on it and killed it, and that the dog was conveniently unavailable for questioning. But with some luck, Katie was able to give her seedling just the right amount of water, and it grew right off the Miracle-Gro chart into the Gigantosaurus spreadsheet. A neighbor happened to mention to Katie that there were deer in the neighborhood, deer that were looking for a salad bar, putting it nicely. So Katie decided to call up her grandfather, because we always call our grandfather, for help, and because she decided that she needed to build something. She decided that she needed to build this cabbage a cage. Not a fence, a cage, she said, because it was becoming a beast, after all. It worked. No deer came anywhere near Katie's cabbage, and that little seedling kept on growing. And at full size, that cabbage weighed 40 pounds. That's your average preschooler. So what do you do with a 40-pound cabbage? Well, Katie's dad had an idea. He suggested that they contact the local homeless shelter, and the Staglianos found the perfect solution to their cabbage on steroids crisis. That cabbage ended up feeding 275 people that night. And since that day, Katie has coordinated the planting of organic gardens in 55 homeless shelters in 21 states. And the year before last, Katie was named the youngest recipient of the Clinton Global Citizen Award. I don't think Katie could have ever predicted this fate for her tiny cabbage seedling. And it really ended up only as luck could have it. And I think that that's the beauty of luck. Luck doesn't require you to have a business plan. Luck doesn't require you to be brave. Luck doesn't require you to be strategic, because luck doesn't require anything at all. It's waiting for you in the possibilities of every day. It's waiting for you to do something new just to see what happens, to go somewhere new just to see what happens, or to talk to someone new just to see what happens, because you have to trust that something is going to happen. The next story that I want to share with you is about a young boy. His name is Travis Price. He learned about the power of belief on his first day of his freshman year of high school, when he witnessed a boy who was being bullied for wearing a pink polo shirt. Travis believed that he could make a difference for this boy simply by wearing pink the next day. And while he was at it, he went to a local thrift shop and he picked up 50 more pink polo shirts with a friend, and he handed them out to his classmates, and then he texted a few more of his friends, and of course he put it on his Facebook page. And I wondered how a wardrobe choice was going to change the world. The next morning, when Travis arrived at school, he was enveloped in a perpetual sea of pink. 700 kids strong wore pink the next day. Can you imagine the face of the boy who was bullied the day before? And the bullies were never heard from again. So Travis Price's idea, Travis Price's idea has now grown into an event called Pink Shirt Day. It's spread to 6 continents, where thousands upon thousands of kids are saying no to bullying, all because Travis put his belief in the power of a pink shirt. The last story that I want to share with you is a story about another friend of mine. His name is Waleed Rashid. And Waleed decided that he wanted to start a revolution in his country. What a crazy idea. But since everything starts with nothing, he did what anybody would do, and he Googled how to start a revolution. Step 1 explained that he needed a team, so he gathered about a dozen friends to help him out. Step 2 said he needed hordes of people to protest in the same location at the same time. Now, the obvious way to do this would be to disseminate information everywhere, except, unfortunately, where Waleed lives, the people are poor and illiterate, and so he and his friends decided to pull a little prank. They called each other on their mobile phones while they sat on buses and in taxi cabs, and day in and day out, and they spoke just loud enough for everyone to hear. They would say, "Hey, Muhammad, shh, just between you and me, there's going to be a revolution in the city. On January 25th, people are coming from far and wide." And little by little, people overheard the news, and of course, because they were told not to share, they shared it everywhere. And when January 25th rolled around, people showed up, all right? In fact, 2 million people. They all came to see the revolution, and in the act of doing so, became the revolution. The year was 2011. The place was Tahrir Square, the country, Egypt, and in the end, 80 million people were freed. Waleed at the time was just 21 years old. "21-year-old Waleed Rashid became greater than he knew how to be, starting with the very same thing the greatest world changers in history started with: nothing." So here we have 3 stories. We have Katie, age 9, we have Travis, age 15, and we have Waleed, who's 21. These individuals represent some of the people that I've met in my lifetime and that you have the opportunity to meet in a book that I wrote. The book is called A Random Book About the Power of Anyone, and I believe there's some copies somewhere around here if anyone's interested. But my book is not about meeting The book is not about meeting them. The book is about meeting their ideas and the ideas that link all of these stories together. Ideas that convince us that luck is everywhere that we are, that belief doesn't require a rhyme or a reason, that everything begins with nothing. And listen carefully. That we don't need to line up our ducks because the best plans actually emerge. That square pegs can fit in round holes because it's flexibility that makes things happen. And that the best place for any cart is ahead of the horse because your dreams should always lead you. In closing, I want to point out a little secret about my story. That my success did not happen because of my fancy shoe store, or my lofty title, or my ambitious Katrina goals, but rather, RandomKid's success happened because, did you catch it? My little brother. RandomKid's success happened because I made room for him, because I made room for Darth Vader. Think about it. It was the one step that I took that seemed to have nothing to do with my success, and it became the very thing that made me successful. So how can we do something greater than we know how to do and become something greater than we know how to be if it's often just an accident? The answer is what lies in what ties all of these different stories together. It happens precisely when we make room for the plan that we didn't have. When we are free enough and brave enough to take that step sideways to a place where unexpected things can happen. Because the great surprises of life, by definition, can only appear in those unexpected places. So by making room for the unexpected, for passions that don't make sense, for playfulness that has no purpose, for ideas that are not your own or for people who are not like you, for a path you didn't define, a dream you didn't dream, and a future that you didn't imagine. You can sometimes follow your heart to a larger destiny, be captured by a grander idea, dream that impossible dream, realize a power you never knew, choose a path that raises you higher, and believe yourself into a new way of being, creating a future that is defined by surprises and marked with a greatness you never thought possible. The answer is, we don't have to know how. We can simply head in the direction of whatever it is that pulls us forward with all of its unexpected twists and turns, and we will get there. And that is both the secret and the magic behind the power of anyone. Thank you.
Incredible.
Thank you.
Oh.
Talia, you are an absolute gift to the world. Thank you so much for being a Girl Scout, for being open, for being creative, for being a leader, believing in teamwork. And to your parents, congratulations, and your brother as well for doing such a fabulous job with this young woman. Wow. Can't wait to see what else you're going to do with your remarkable life. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Once again, let's congratulate Talia and all of our amazing award recipients today.